So here we are, we've finally made it, this last mystic path today. A mystic is one who sees beyond appearances into the very heart of things. And a mystic knows that God is not far away, God is here. The mystic feels God's presence in the silence and in every breath and in every moment. And so why would we choose to walk the mystic path? And I believe it's because we want to live life to its fullest. We want to wake up. We want to be deeply engaged, and we want to be grounded. We're looking for clarity and compassion and joy in life. And the mystic's path is not reserved for a few old saints, but it's open to all of us, here and now. And it's how we see with eyes of spirit and how we experience life from the light within. And so today we come to our final mystic, the faithful mystic. And hasn't our faith been put to the test lately? We find ourselves surrounded by confusion, opinion, and propaganda. But the test for us is, can we discern what's true? Can we see through appearances and know there's just one presence and one power, and we live in that presence and power? We're living in a time of political polarization, cultural clashes, and social unrest. And we're being tempted sometimes towards fear and separation. But the test is, can we uphold the principle of love over and above separation? Can we uphold the principle of oneness over and above division? And can we see the divine in each and every person, even those ones that we greatly disagree with? And what about the principle of abundance? We're experiencing economic instability. There's a shifting job market. Some even say, well, there might be a global crisis. And isn't this challenging to our sense of security? But the test is, do we trust in the law of abundance? Do we really know in our hearts that the source of supply is unlimited and that we can never be outside of that source? And the turbulence of these times make us sometimes feel like we're entering into a time of decline or some type of collapse. And the test for us is, can we hold the high vision? Do we see that humanity is birthing into a higher consciousness through this struggle that we're going through together? And are we going to be part of the new era, one of love and compassion and peace and truth? And so we might be feeling that the outer world is a little shaky. But what about our true foundation? Where is our faith? That presence of God that is always with us, that is always working out everything for good. And so what we know is that faith is not just a set of beliefs, and that's certainly how we see it here in Unity. We see faith as a spiritual power. I want you to affirm with me, my faith is a spiritual power. Say that with me. My faith is a spiritual power. And the faithful mystic knows that God is in every moment. The faithful mystic embodies this power and calls forth truth amid confusion. They find love amid division. They find abundance amid uncertainty and healing amid the crisis and transformation amid the seeming decline. The faithful mystic shows us how to walk in the light and to become God manifest in physical form. And who is God in physical form? All of us, and all of you online too. And so in Hebrews 11 it says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for. So what do you hope for? What is it that you want to see in your community and see in your country and in the world? And our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, said that faith accomplishes all things. Not 50%, not even 90%, all things. Faith cooperates with creative law, and when faith is exercised deep in spiritual consciousness, it finds its abode. Abode, what does that word mean? We don't use it so much. It literally means dwelling place. So where are you dwelling? Where is your consciousness dwelling? Are you allowing yourselves to get hooked into the negativity and the uncertainty, or is your abode grounded in spiritual law and truth and faith? And so today the stage is set for us to be in union with God. And what is God union but grace? Grace is, simply put, the goodness of God. It is not bestowed upon us when we do the right thing, and it's not taken away when we make a mistake. God's grace is always there, and Charles Fillmore describes it as the law of love in action. So how are you showing up as the law of love in action? The grace of God is the assurance that divine presence is always at work, always restoring harmony, lifting burdens, and drawing us back to our true and holy self. Grace reminds us that we do not live in a universe of chaos. Beyond the chaos is divine order. It sits beneath everything, and we affirm today that divine order is always in order. We need to get that. Let's say divine order is always in order. Grace reminds us that we do not live in a universe of lack or opinion or separation, but we live in a universe of love. And so as soon as you notice yourself thinking fearfully, you're out of the state of grace. And the small self, you know what I'm talking about, the small self with all its attachments and all its aversions takes over. And if we let it, we can become a prisoner to that. But just as loving parents give their children what they need, not because they've earned it, but because they love their children, God's grace steps in for us as the loving parent. And so in Borisenko's book, 7 Paths to God, she tells the story of from ancient China, where there lived a Taoist farmer. He was considered a wealthy man because he had a horse. And early one spring morning, the horse ran off. And when the villagers heard this, they showed their sympathy and they said, well, what a terrible thing. But all the Taoist farmer said was, maybe. And the next morning, his horse returned leading an entire herd of wild mustangs. And the townspeople rushed over and exclaimed his good fortune and said, now you're the richest man in the province. But all the farmer said was, maybe. And the next morning, the farmer's only son woke at dawn to break in one of the wild horses. And it promptly threw him off and he broke his leg. And the townspeople rushed over and said, what a terrible thing. Without the help of your only son, how are you going to plant your fields? And the farmer said, maybe. And the next afternoon, the emperor's soldiers rode into the town. They conscripted all the young men into war, except for the farmer's son, who had a broken leg. And the townspeople again gathered around to marvel at the farmer's good luck. But all he said was, maybe. And so we see that grace is a paradox. Wonderful things happen sometimes, devastating things happen sometimes, and they're all part of grace. And sometimes grace can feel like a gift that we could never possibly put into place ourselves. And so here we are on the mystic path. Which mystic are you? Are you the everyday mystic, the one who's earth-centered and home-centered, or the generous mystic, the one who lives in generosity of spirit, who gets all of their gifts from God and willingly shares them with others? Or maybe you're the passionate mystic, the one who says, well, who can I serve? The disciplined mystic who lives by a strong code of ethics? Or are you the forgiving mystic who sees through eyes of love? You might be the wise mystic who looks through the lens of the spiritual eye, or the faithful mystic, the one who is deeply grounded in faith and grace. And so today I'm going to ask you to consider which mystic speaks to you most directly, and you're going to be invited to come up and take a stone and place it into your mystic's bowl. And then you can take an affirmation for that mystic with you. So I'm going to ask you to come down the aisle and then go back against the wall. Just come up in your own time. Okay, we're going to take a few moments. What I'd like you to do is talk to the person next to you. Tell them why you chose your mystic and read your affirmation to them. Are we done? Okay. Okay, in her book, Joan Borisenko quotes Master. I'm going to start again. In her book, Joan Borisenko quotes Meister Eckhart as saying, "The eye with which I see God is the same eye as that with which he sees me. One eye, one vision, one knowledge, and one love." And she closes the book by saying, "For this is the vision that unites all 7 paths and creates the bridge to a new earth and a new heaven." And so it is. Thank you.